Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we introduce algebra. So what is algebra? Well, it's basically the study of operations. So in order to study it fully, what we need to do is we need to come up with things we can use in place of numbers, and usually that's letters. So we have letters usually like X and Y. We call them pronumerals. They are things that stand in place of actual numbers. Algebra, we will write things with letters, and those letters stand for unknown numbers. So I said algebra was the study of operations. So of course we're looking at mainly the four operations. So of course the four operations being plus, minus, times, and divide. Sum means plus, difference means minus, product times, and quotient means divide. So where am I going with this? So we will write things called mathematical expressions with one or more of these operations. So I could write the sum of two unknown numbers like this. So x plus y means an unknown number plus another unknown number. Each of these letters means an unknown number. We don't know what it is. We don't need to know what it is. Sometimes I will want to take a sentence, a normal English sentence, and I will want to just write it with mathematical symbols and pronumerals. So if I wanted to write the difference of y, which is an unknown number, and 3, that would just be y minus 3. So we usually use the word subtracted instead of difference. So if I wanted to write the sentence x subtracted from 4, I don't need to write a whole heap of words. I can just take 4 and subtract x. So note that means x is being subtracted from 4. If it was 4 subtracted from x, it'd be x minus 4. So let's say I wanted to write the sentence, the product of 2a, b, and c, only using mathematical symbols. So note, I don't always need to use x and y. I can use whatever letter I want. So product does mean times, but in algebra, we usually don't write the times. So instead of writing 2 times a times b times c, because we write times so often, it gets annoying to write, what we usually do is write the same thing without the times. We just write it as 2abc. So that is understood to mean 2 times a times b times c. If no operation is written between pronumerals or between a number and a pronumeral, we assume it's times. So if I had something like 5x, that would mean 5 times x, or the product of 5 and x. All right, please pause and copy this down if you need. What we're going to do now is look at turning sentences in ordinary English into mathematical sentences. We're going to write things with just mathematical symbols. So let's look at this example here. So let's say I have X Mars bars in each bag. How many would I have in 4 bags? Now, the thing that people find most difficult about questions like this is they think that they have to come up with one number as the answer. Well, in algebra, we're not just coming up with a number. In this example, I actually don't know how many Mars bars I have in each bag. It could be 4, it could be 3 in each bag, it could be 2007. We just don't know. So what I want to do is write the number of Mars bars in each bag just using pronumerals, which remember are letters, and mathematical symbols. So if there were 7 Mars bars in each bag, I would have 7 times 4, 28 in total. If there were, say, 6 Mars bars in each bag, I would have 4 times 6, which is 24 in 4 bags. If there were 10 Mars bars in each bag, I would have 4 times 10, 40 Mars bars in total. If there were X Mars bars in each bag, I would have 4 times X. And remember, we usually don't write the times. There would be 4X Mars bars in 4 bags. What that means is the total number of Mars bars I would have is 4 times the number of Mars bars in each bag. Now, this is not an equation. We're not looking at equations yet, so you can't actually tell me what x equals or how many Mars bars are in total. What we have, though, is we have a term here for x that represents the number of Mars bars. And we're going to look in this topic in subsequent lessons at doing things to terms like this. So let's look at another example. And I want to share it amongst Y friends. How much money would each friend receive? So this is what I meant at the start, where we're studying operations. We're just looking at what operations we would use in a question like this. Now I have X dollars. X stands for an unknown number. Could be $200, could be $339.75. We don't know, but we don't need to know. We're just looking at writing a term or an expression that allows us to think about what we would do to figure out how much money each friend would receive. So if you had $10 amongst 4 friends, you just go 10 divided by 4. If you had $40 amongst 5 friends, it'd just be 40 divided by 5. Hopefully what you're seeing is, if I wanted to share any amount of money amongst my friends, I just take the amount of money I have and divide it by the number of friends. So I can write that as just X over Y. It's actually fine if you want to write X divided by Y. They mean the same thing, but we usually write it like this. So that, again, doesn't tell us a number. It doesn't tell us exactly how much each person would receive, but it just gives us numbers that represent how much they would receive. So it would just be the number I have, the amount of money I have, divided by the number of friends. How easy is that? All right, now we just need to go through a few more definitions. Please pause and copy this down if you need. So it's important that we know these definitions because they will come up all the time in our study. For example, we're going to be looking at doing operations on terms in subsequent lessons. So we need to know what a term is. So a term is any sequence of letters or pronumerals attached to each other. So something like 7A is a term. It's just a number, 7, and a pronumeral A. Something like 4B is a term because it's a sequence of pronumerals, in this case the pronumerals B and a letter. You can have more than one pronumeral in the same term. So I could have something like minus 3A, B, C. That is one term. Now I also want you to know that numbers by themselves are terms. Something like 5 is a term. So I've just written 4 terms. Now, to make an expression, I need to have plus and minus signs between them. So I already had a minus sign here. I've now, by putting the pluses and minuses in, I've turned this into an expression that has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. There are 4 terms in this expression. Expression is just one or more terms separated by plus or minus signs. I have that here. I have 4 terms with some plus and minus signs. Therefore, it's an expression. So coefficient is another very important term in maths. It just means the number in front of. So we talk about things like the coefficient of A, because remember A is a pronumeral. So the coefficient of A just means the number in front of A, which is 7. The coefficient of B is the number in front of B, which is 4. So note when I say coefficient of B, it has to be the term that just has a B in it. It's not the term that has some other pronumerals in it, like this one here. So I might, for that last term, that third term, I might talk about the coefficient of ABC. So that's the number in front of ABC. Now you probably think it's 3, but actually this minus here belongs to the 3. I know it might be a bit difficult. Some of you haven't had much experience with negative numbers, but the coefficient of ABC is actually negative 3, not positive 3. So I said that numbers by themselves can constitute a term. They do constitute a term, and in our expression here, we have a 5 by itself. That's what's meant by constant term. So in this expression with 4 terms, the constant term is equal to 5. Constant term, just a number that has no pronumerals. You can see 7A is not a constant term, for example, because it does have a pronumeral. It has a letter. So the last thing there is a variable. So a variable is just another word for pronumeral. Vary means change, so we call them variables because they change from question to question. A doesn't have to have one value. It could be, 1, it could be 2, it can change. So the variables in this expression, so this expression has 4 terms, and it has 3 variables, and the variables are A, B, C, just the letters. All right, I know this is a very abstract and new concept, but you're a superstar, and I know you're going to ace it. Please let me know if you have any questions. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.